afternoon. ACCUSTATS Billiards presents once again for your perusal and ultimate enjoyment Championship 9-ball. I'm Grady Mathews here in Reno, Nevada with Jerry McWorter. What do we have upcoming for our viewers, Jerry?
Well, we got a great match. We got Steve Mizerak, certainly a recognizable face to all pool enthusiasts at every level, and another great player, Tony Ellin. Tony has been experiencing a lot of good success in the last year and winning tournaments and certainly up there clawing at the top of the leaderboard all the time. He's a real big breaker and another one of these young, powerful 9-ball players.
You know what I like about Tony a lot too, Jerry? He bets the sports, he plays golf, he plays poker, gin, he gambles at pool, and he's kind of an all-around guy. He's personable, talented, and I'm in love with his 9-ball game.
Well, powerful, I think, is the name. Hurricane Tony Ellin is his little road name he's kind of acquired, but powerful. He has a real powerful game. And broke the balls there, playing the one ball in the side pocket.
He's left made himself 3 balls on the break.
Length of the table with a shot on the 2-ball.
Well, he's got a shot here where if he can just make the 2-ball and kind of turn it into the pocket with outside English, he's going to have a nice shot on the 3-ball. Doesn't really need to draw this. That's kind of a misconception about this type of shot. Actually, just below center, maybe a touch of draw. Look how nicely he did that. That's perfect speed. Now he's got to be careful to get an angle where he can get from the 4 to the 6. Oh, Tony is our defending champion. I think that's worthy of mention.
Yeah, he won this tournament in June.
Watch out. Ooh.
Well, he escaped there, didn't he?
Well, he exited the jaws of death, so to speak. And it's funny, the destiny, as I've mentioned in the past, of whole nations has hinged on less distance than that. And at any rate, he's still at the table with a very usable lie of 3 balls. Now he can just shoot the 8-ball in, stop the cue ball. And with no further ado than that, it's going to be 1-0, Tony Ellin.
Well, this is exactly what Tony wants to see happen. He wants to make a ball in the break, and he wants opportunities to run racks. That's where he's able to win matches against these great champions handily, is by staying at the table and keeping them in the chair.
Well, his position play and his defensive skills have picked up considerably over the last 2 or 3 years, too. We should say a nice word about Shelby, too. Shelby's Tony's wife, a very personable lady and fine player in her own right. Now, for Steve Mizerak, to my way of thinking, one of the questions I get asked a lot of times at exhibitions is who I think is the finest straight pool player that ever lived, and I always say the same thing, Mizerak. Why? He won the world title 6 or 7 times in fields which featured like 50 or 60 guys that were 100-ball runners. And his averages have been better, and it's hard to discredit his straight pool record. All right, this time, Tony only made 1 ball on the break. He's got a shot on the 2-ball, but he's quite a ways away from it. And I kind of like hitting this with a high ball. I don't really like elevating the cue and trying to draw this out of there. All right. He's going to try to punch it out 1 rail. Tough shot.
He drew it straight back, opposed to, I think you were talking about punching it into the rail and bouncing it out a little bit.
I think he meant to. I think he just caught the 2-ball a little more thickly than he had intended. 71 players in all this week here at the Sands Regency. 20th edition of this long-running tournament. And he's got a nice angle, Jerry, to get from the 4 to the 5. And I think we'll see him play for the 5-ball in the side pocket. And that indeed is his route of choice. And I don't see any particular impending problems. 5-ball in the side, probably the cue ball down to the end rail. And I would probably play the 6-ball for the corner here. You know, he's decided to play it in the side pocket. Very astute of him to notice that he could go between the 7 and 8. Now he'll go 3 rails and plan to play the 7 in the far left-hand corner. 1, 2, 3. And Tony's tempo is impeccable too, Jerry.
I'll tell you what, Grady, I like what I see. We've worked here in the booth for the last 3 matches, and it seemed like the powerful fast and loose players we've been watching play have been off their personal tempo and off their their game plan at the table. And Tony seems real comfortable.
Well, he's got to draw this out of here, and I would be careful not to go far enough to possibly scratch. No reason to risk coming close to the corner. He's such a fine shot maker, he doesn't care if he gets a little angle on the 9 ball.
Exactly. He just elected just to roll the ball up.
Well, I don't think I would have taken this.
Take a thin hit on the 9. I think this is a little more difficult than he expected.
Boy.
I still look at him to make the ball.
Oh, he probably will.
Ooh.
Well, there's unforced error number 1, and for Steve Mizerak, a giant gift. And we're going to be knotted up 1 game apiece. Seen a lot of old faces here this week, Jerry, in Reno, as always, and it's fun just to sit around and kind of rehash the past.
Commiserate with the local spectators and players.
And what were questionably better days. Bygone but not forgotten.
Well, Reno's a town for tournaments for you and your productions too, isn't it?
I've only done 1 tournament here, and that was enjoyable.
We're going to take a quick look here. Steve has just broke the balls and pocketed 1 ball in the break. We're going to take a quick look at
Here's the shot.
Tony
scratches on the 9. Well, I for one am thoroughly surprised at the position that he played on the 9 ball.
Yeah, it seemed to me it looked like when he just rolled the 8 ball in and then went down and actually looked at where the 9 ball was. It was a little more difficult than he anticipated.
Well, call me silly if you want to. I would rather have missed the 8 than to have that hard shot on the 9 ball. Now, Steve Mizerak, if you had to put a nice feature on his side of the ledger, it would be the safety play. He's a great kicker, great defensive player. Now he's going to try to knock the 2 ball to the end rail and over to the side rail, hopefully behind the 9. Oh, he cut at it.
He can make the ball. He's got a difficult combination, it looks like.
Well, he can't make this, I don't
Yeah, I think they're too close together and the 4 balls in a bad line.
He's going to use low right English and go to the side rail just by the side pocket and try to go back maybe behind the 5-7.
Was he shooting at that ball?
I don't think so, but I'll tell you, it's hard to tell what he intended.
It looked like he was trying to hit the 3 balls thin as possible and cut the 3 to get a combination of the 4 in the corner. You didn't think it went, and I think he might have proved that it didn't.
Well, for Steve Mizerak, he thought he was going to be down 2-0 with Tony Ellin still at the table with that powerhouse break, and instead he's got a chance to forge a 1-game lead. Well, you know, the big fella sure has a smooth, silky stroke, doesn't he?
Yeah, I've always enjoyed watching him play.
Yeah, me too. And you won't see Steve Mizerak make many position errors. Perfect angle here, low right English. Notice how he went to the middle of the side rail. No reason to risk getting straight in on the 8 ball. Now, a little right-hand English.
Let's take a quick look here, Grady, at the shot that Tony missed, or this combination. What do you make of this?
I think he was playing safe. Combination wouldn't go.
No, he was shooting at it. I mean, the way he struck the 3-ball, he didn't create any distance with the 3-ball to the cue ball. He knows where the balls are going. Didn't look anything like a safety.
2-1, Mizerak. Well, I, for one, am hard-pressed to tell you what his intentions were. I don't know. Maybe after the match is over, if we have an interview or two, we'll ask him that very question. Now, one thing I wouldn't do is try to shoot this from over the 7-ball. That's untenable. He needs to roll out where at least he doesn't have to shoot over the ball. And in the area of the 5-ball is a pretty good selection, in my opinion. Yeah, I would pass this shot. It's not an easy safety. There's no good aggressive offensive play. Jerry, I'm going to keep harping on this point. Long distance, shooting softly, it's disaster practically every time. I mean, this isn't disaster. He didn't leave him an easy shot, but Steve Mizerak's a great safety player. You may rest assured that at the very least, Tony Ellin will be a long ways from the 1-ball.
Steve's in control at this position of the rack.
Well, what about cutting the 1-ball past the 6 up towards the area of the 3-ball and putting the cue ball back behind the 4? That's one choice. The other choice is to knock the 1 on the in rail from which he's shooting, and the cue ball down maybe around the area of the 5-ball.
He's got to be pretty accurate to duck the 3 and 7 with that second option.
See, now look what happened there. That was his third choice, but again, you got to roll the ball. There's not a whole lot to gain, and it's just not very high percentage.
Isn't it usually better to take the choice that will create distance?
Oh, almost.
Because of the factor that you've mentioned, that you're putting them in the position to probably have to slow roll a ball long distances.
Sure. At any rate, Tony's got a chance to even this match up, and I think we're going to see him play the 5-9 combination. Just wants to lay the cue ball down on the end rail. And he'll shoot this a slow medium speed. And that has in fact occurred. We're tied up 2 games apiece. Willie Munson and Buddy Hall are playing down the way. And you want to talk about 2-class individuals, they certainly are that. Well, we get another look at the Tony Ellin break, and a lot of knowledgeable experts concede that possibly he might have the best break on the tour.
There's our cameraman Rick Boley spanning the room there to show you some of the other championship activity,
which is in abundance here, as always in Reno, here at the Sands.
Well, Tony's got that perfect little snap that's pulling that 1-ball right into the side pocket.
Well, the problem is that Steve Mizerak is racking the 2-ball behind the 9-ball, and it's coming down at the bottom in rail, and he's not getting a shot on the lowest numbered ball.
Each time also Tony has been allowing the cue ball to draw up to that end of the table, which is not profitable for him. Needs to figure out how to strike the ball the same way and keep the cue ball in the middle of the table. Increases his opportunity.
Well, here, Steve Mizerak has to take this because the 3 and the 6 figure to block the progress of the 2-ball. Now, what he has to watch here is coming all the way back down the table and making the 7. He does not want to do that. But he can get away. He's got a little range here. He doesn't have to make a real thin hit on this ball to get it safe. He hit it thinner than he meant to. Now Tony can play the combination or the safety. I don't like the combination, though. He's got to stretch or use the bridge. Plus, it's very difficult to control the two ball, and it's a hard combination.
Well, the cue ball also will be running out of territory.
He'll use left English, I think, and plan to come down the table like so.
Snug up behind the 5 pot. No, too much speed. Excellent shots. Got him between the snookered with the 6 and 9. He's checking to see if the ball is frozen.
Well, he's got a pretty good kick shot. This is the right way to shoot it. Has a chance to make the 2 or the 3 or get a safety. And I would just shoot this medium speed. I wouldn't blast it like that. A lot of good things can happen there. Nice shot. Tony's going to elevate the cue probably, and he doesn't even have to elevate
looks like
it.
he might be able to shoot straight at it, or certainly go rail first.
Didn't have to twist the ball. We got to be careful here. I think he's got an angle just to use a high ball and come out 1 rail and just kind of get in the middle of the table. Well, he went 2 rails, which is fine. Now just back up the table in the vicinity of the 4-5. Beautifully executed. Tony powdering up. Been a lot of conflict technically and philosophically, Jerry, as to whether powder affects the reaction of the object balls. And I'm inclined to think that it does. I prefer to play with the balls all clean.
24th goes to 1,000, so we got some pretty serious action right now on table number 2. Our first player is currently ranked number 31. He's a trained professional from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Now he needs a good angle on the 5 ball to get position on the 6.
His opponent's number 16 seed.
He wants to come out above the 5, I think.
Teaches pool. He will travel. He's a former
And
player of
he
the year.
didn't get there, but he has an angle, I think, to punch it down on the left side of the 6 ball. Perfect angle.
Table 8 from Los Angeles, California.
And no special threat here. Pocket the 6. Come 1 or 2 rails to be roughly straight into the 9 ball.
They're announcing a few of the other matches that are getting started here in the room. The crowd's applauding, and you can hear the announcements over the PA there.
All right, 3-2. Favor of Tony Ellin.
Well, I look to see the 1 in the side pocket, and hopefully he'll be able to keep his cue ball a little farther south here.
Yeah, he does not want to be up on the end rail on a regular basis. Tony's from Charleston, South Carolina. Nice area, historic in nature. Having a little problem racking the balls, it would seem. Well, Mizerak, I don't know what he's doing with the towel, kind of wiping off the rack area. And we'll watch the break in just a second here.
Grady, whose game have you been most impressed with this week?
Well, I like the way Jeff Carter's playing. We just did a match where he performed to near perfection. 1, 2, 3 balls on the break. Have you noticed, Jerry, that we've done several matches, all performed on this table, and there's quite a number of games, maybe half of the games, that these great players are making 3 balls on the break or more?
Well, the last match, Jeff Carter was making 3 balls on the break several times. Unfortunately, he would come up hooked and not be able to run out. But Tony looks like he's gonna have opportunities to really put some pressure on Steve by keeping him in that chair.
Well, it seems to me to take a little bit of the play out of it to compete on tables that break so easily. Perhaps not. Who knows? But I mean, with the 3 balls going on the break for these great players, it's almost a shoot and stop or connect a dot scenario, if you will. And it's 4-2. Of course, the break edge I would give to Tony Ellin anyway. And for Steve Mizerak, I would be concerned that I might be preparing to look at a whole match of 3 balls going on the break. There's another thing too. I would move on the side of the table from which Tony is breaking if I were Steve, just because of the great results he's getting. Well, he's not going to make 3 on the break this time.
Well, he sent the 9 ball all the way down table to the back rail and then within 2 feet of the spot again. And didn't make a ball on the break.
Okay, Steve has a great shot with which to begin. The 2 balls by the lower left-hand side rail. Now, the problem with this rack, as I judge it, is getting from the 6 to the 7.
I believe the 5 passes the 6. That's what he's looking at now, into the right-hand lower corner pocket.
Yes, it does. But he doesn't want to play the 6 in the lower right-hand pocket because he might have to run into the 8. It takes a perfect angle to get position on the 7. So he would like to get an angle where he can kind of float over on the right side of the 6 ball as we view it
near the 9
monitor.
ball. And he's put himself on the wrong side of the ball.
Well, he might have an angle where he can roll the cue ball forward with a high ball and move the 8. I think that's what he's looking at.
Just barely nudge it and lay right on top of the 8.
No, he'll want to make a nice...
yeah, he'll want to move it forward an inch or so.
Thick hit on it like that. That's a beautifully executed shot. Now, can he reach this from all the way over there? I guess he can. Low, right English. And there's nothing quite natural about this. Now look what he did there. He took the highest percentage, easiest route to make sure he's got a shot on the 7 ball. This is not the easiest shot in the world either, and not that he didn't make it look that way. Now the problem here, Jerry, he can make the 8, but how do you get on the 9? Well, if he has to cut the 8, he's fine. Nice shot. Boy, is he smooth. For aspiring pool players, that certainly is not an easy shot to execute. 3-4 disadvantage, Steve Mizerak.
Now you would put Steve Mizerak in as being the greatest straight pool player, possibly above Mike Siegel.
I think Mizerak's won the world title more than Mike has. There's a shot of Rodolfo Lua, talented and personable young Philippine champion. All right, now look what Steve did. Moved over to the other side of the table. Very, very sagacious player. Stopped the cue ball directly in the middle of the table.
Come up empty-handed.
Well, he didn't make anything. I thought he made a ball there. Well, I think we'll see Tony bank the 1 into the 3 ball. perhaps not, but that certainly is a reasonable way to go. He moved the 5 ball slightly with his cue, not a foul. Oh, he elected to play safe. And he's done so very nicely.
I think the cue ball's peeked out a little bit to give
he has to
Steve a shot at the 1.
Well, he'd like to hit this on the thick side, right English. Oh, he played the 3 ball.
He was playing the carom, and the cue ball ended up in the jaws there. 1 ball coming up table and giving him a shot to shoot the 1 down table following the cue ball for position on the 2. It's a good camera angle to see what's going on.
That's about all he could do with it.
Yeah, he was a little straight in, and running straight into the 5 was the most he could hope for.
Well, I think he should lag this in and maybe go underneath the 4 and play the 4 ball in the same pocket as the 2 ball. Oh, he caught the 4. Oh, it's so hard to roll balls, Jerry. Almost all these great players go to great lengths to avoid that type of shot.
As you mentioned yesterday, that seems to be something that the players from the Philippines have great success with.
True, true. Well, he can make the 4 ball here. The problem is he going to hit the 9 ball? They can't use inside English here, I don't think.
Well, if he can hit the 9 ball to the high side of the 9, just a hair, I think he has a good chance. With a little bit outside English, has a good chance of coming up with a shot. He hit on the low side of the 9. It might have been the best he could do.
Yeah, that was the best he could do.
Going directly into the path of the 5 ball.
Now he's got a nice safety here. You bank the 5 right down about where the cue ball is now, and the cue ball over behind the 6-8.
Well, every amateur player in the country is going to play the combination, I'll tell you that.
Not if
ill-advised.
Not if they like to win, they won't. Well, not an easy shot here. He can use quite a bit of left English and try to leave the cue ball behind the 8 ball, but that's a tough shot. He can use low left English, which isn't a bad play. If he misses the ball slightly on the thick side, he'll probably have it safe.
He's left him an open shot on the 5 here, but the angle is sending the cue ball in the opposite direction to the 6, so he's going to have to do something pretty clever here or something using some stroke to come up with position.
Yeah, this is a tough shot. He either has to draw that out of there. I don't know that he can punch this out 2 rails. He might be able to.
I think he's going to draw it to the long rail to the left and try to swing out for the 4. I mean for the 6. No, he does he have a shot in the side pocket there?
Yeah, this goes in the side, sure. And you just want to kind of slow roll that in the pocket. Nice shot. And nice angle here on the 7. I would just play with the 8 in the same pocket. Okay, he killed it. That's just as good, but he did not mean to hit the 8 ball. And that's near perfect. And as soon as he pockets the 9 ball, we're going to be looking at a 5-3 score in favor of Tony Ellin. Well, let's see if Tony can pocket 3 balls this time.
shot of Danny Medina.
Who incidentally is trailing Rodolfo Luat 6-0. Well, he made one ball on the break, but he's certainly obtained a respectable position here to begin this rack. He's going to play the 1-3 combination. I might just draw this out of here rather than trying to thin the one. But this is also all right. Now here's the one exception here to this type of shot. I might just try to go one rail with low left English and go in the vicinity of the 8 ball. Because I would worry about the 7. Now he's all right, but it could have ended up much worse.
Running into balls often presents problems. It's obvious.
That it does. And that was the best method selected. Coming up one rail. Now low left English. Just kind of getting a bit below the table to play the 8 in the side pocket. Very nicely done. And we're going to have a 6-3 game edge for Tony Ellin. Jerry, you make cues too, all right?
That's what I do.
And everybody can see the number there on the monitor, so.
Yeah, business is good. Everybody's busy. A lot of the American Cue Makers Association is an organization I know you're familiar with. It's an organization of the American Cue Makers, hence the clever name. And I know you have some tournaments coming up, and oftentimes we get together at big tournaments and get together as a group and show all the cues and give people an opportunity to become familiar with some of the great cue makers out there and some of the great product that's being offered.
Steve Mizerak is asking for something here. I would too. I just don't think 9 balls meant to be played where 2 or 3 balls go on the break. They are not allowed to tap the balls, and that's a great rule. I wish they had come up with that years ago.
They've eliminated putting those holes in the cloth and in the slate, which really prevent the balls from racking well. However, they can call the tournament director over, Scott Smith, there, and if he deems it necessary, he's the only one that is allowed to tap the balls.
I'm not going to mention any names. I believe in being positive about everything, but I heard a cue maker once tell a prospective customer, if you buy my cue and play with it, even if you dog a ball, you still make it. And the guy just stood there rapt and didn't know what to say and everything, and son of a gun if he didn't buy the cue. So there's a lot about salesmanship that obviously escapes me.
That's a closing technique I don't think I've heard of. Of course, customers are always asking if you'll ever miss a ball. I mean, if I buy this cue, will I never miss a ball? So they're certainly looking for that
Tony's
guarantee.
checking to make sure it's okay to tap them. Well, see, I don't believe in this. If I were the tournament director, and Scott Smith is a great director, I would never allow him to be tapped. That changes everything.
Well, it's got that 1 ball back in the side for Tony.
Well, it doesn't change that. And he's got a nice shot on the 2 ball here. And the only question here is what to do with the 3 ball.
I'll tell you, this game's a lot of fun when you're breaking, making a ball on the break, and seeing a shot at the object ball.
Oh, sure it is. As your opponent sits there haplessly, face a mask of consternation and befuddlement.
That's easy for you to say.
Well, it's easy for me to say I'm knocked out of the tournament. Okay. a little farther than he wanted to. Now he can either go around the 9 or down to the end rail, low right English, and just kind of bounce up in the middle of the table.
He spun his ball a little more than he wanted to. That was more of a center ball draw type shot. I think he has hooked himself. Yep, but he's just going to elevate his cue, jump over it, draw his ball back, shoot the 6 on the side, and run out.
That's all there is to it.
It's that simple. Well, look at that.
Well, and that in a nutshell, ladies and gentlemen, is why I should have been a used car salesman. What a great shot. Well, the jump cue is no longer legal, and he wouldn't be able to reach it anyway. Now, I don't like this. Take a one-rail kick at it, Tony, and try to kick it in the side, but not that direction. Well, I don't think he's going to like the results of this.
Well, he did hit a rail. I mean, this is as good as ball in hand, really.
No, it's not either, because Steve Mizerak has to lean across the table, I think. Maybe not, or stretch forward. I mean, he's in pretty good shape.
I myself want to take one more look at that jump shot.
Well,
as soon as the completion of this rack, we'll do so.
that was some attempt, wasn't it? Some great shot. He made it look easy. I don't know how much of the other ball he had to go over, but I think it was probably at least half the ball. Nice shot. And we'll take a look at that jump shot again as soon as Steve pockets the 9 ball. All right, here it is. Slow motion.
Full
Boy,
ball. Zing.
Look how high in the air that cue ball went, Jerry. That thing had to be 3 or 4 inches up in the air at least.
Now, I don't know why he didn't elect to just lag that ball to the short rail and try to dab it right in the side. He chose to kick it long rail and cut it into the side. Much smaller area and much more distance.
Well, I don't know.
I think possibly that he could, with the side pocket on the opposite side of the table, he didn't have a natural angle. Would have had to use some kind of English and just didn't like the speed of it. But
at any rate,
either way, it resulted in the same. Him losing that rack and Steve making a ball on the break and a clear shot at the 2 ball.
All right, this is touchy. He's looking. The 3 doesn't go. The 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 are all relatively close to the lower right-hand side pocket. He might try to go into the 6 or the 9, but what he wants to do is make sure he doesn't snooker himself. I don't know if he's got enough angle to do that. All right, he's going to play safe here, it would appear. He wants to go by the 6 ball and leave it. Oh, it went?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that ball went. Boy, that's deceptive. Looking on the monitor now, I was looking at the table instead. I see that there was room. Now that's a beautifully turned in shot there. Now he's only got 2 choices. 1 rail or hit all the way up on the end rail by the far left-hand corner and go 2 or 3 rails with a little left English, which I think is the correct shot. Did he make a good hit? He had me kind of body hooked. We'll know in a moment. Nope, Steve was reaching for the cue ball.
He hit the 5 instead of the 4.
Well, let's see here. The 5 to the 6. Got to be a little bit careful. And the 6 to the 7 would require some measure of caution.
He's measuring what area he needs to be in to pocket that 6 ball as the ball's alive.
Well, he's going to plan to just come up one rail here. And he'd like to stay a little to the left of straight in on the 5, which I think he's done, so that he can pull the cue ball over between the 7 and 8. Buddy Hall leading Willie Munson 5-0 as we wait for this upcoming shot. Beautiful shot. Now he's going to have to draw this back and play the 7 on the side, because he cannot get on the 7 in the corner. And he'd rather be slightly too far than not far enough. And in that fashion, he's got to have a workable lie of balls. And again, he's got a choice how he wants to play the 8 ball. And it would be hard to place the cue ball in better position. Good shot. And with great precision, Steve Mizerak has narrowed the gap, and he's going to trail by only 1 game, 6 games to 5. And once again, keep reiterating the same point, it would seem, every match better and better. Close, interesting, exciting. All right, Steve went back to the other side of the table. I don't know exactly what that means, but there he is, and we'll see what transpires. Uh-oh. I like what that means for Steve Mizerak.
Come on, 4 ball, be nice.
Stop the cue ball in the middle of the table. I think he'll probably take a kick at this ball if the 1-2.
He might be able to play the carom. Hard to see from here, but I think he can play the carom to just dab the left side of the 1 and.
Oh, look at that close-up, a thing of rare beauty.
Well, he's corner hooked himself.
I started to suggest to you, Jerry, that it would be hard to control the 1 ball. That's why I like the kick better if I knew I could make the 2 ball if all I had to do was hit the 1. Well, he's going to have to go over to the side rail. Now he's got a chance to get this 1 ball safe, or get safe either side of the 1 he hits. He sells out if he makes a thick hit on the 1. Did he get a rail?
Cue ball, got a rail.
And Tony has a cross-side bank, but places like this, where the cue ball is in close proximity to the rail, is very difficult to bridge and thus hard to be accurate. Plus, it's not that easy to control a cue ball. However, he could play the bank. A lot of good things can happen. I think the safety is probably the right shot, though.
Good speed. Got the hook
is.
with the 3 and 7.
And he also got the 1 the right distance off the rail. Pretty difficult to make this or even get it safe. This is the right way to go. And I think he'd like to hit this thinly, what do you call it, or thickly. Again, the only way you mess that up is maybe with a half a ball hit. That's a nice shot.
Excellent.
Beautiful shot.
Now, would you have kicked that direction? Or?
Yes, yeah. And I would have tried to hit it on the thick side like he did, because you got the 8-9-6 to maybe block the 1 from going in a pocket. Actually, he made an awfully nice shot here. There really isn't much here. Unless Steve could squeeze the 1 ball off the backside of the 8. See, if he weren't quite so close to the rail where he could put a little left English on the cue ball, he could actually pull the cue ball back on the other side of the 3-7. He's going to try to go behind the 6, maybe.
I like that shot.
Well, I don't know.
He didn't come up with the hook, but he was creating distance and putting the 1 ball back on the end of the rail. He's going to snug the cue ball now behind the 8-9.
Right.
But I didn't see that. I didn't see that option. that Steve saw. And maybe Steve's wishes that he didn't see that option either.
Got a masse this. Nice shot. And again, as we often say, it pays to hit them. Good things can happen, and it beats the living hell out of ball in hand. It's going to go 2 rails here. No, he went 1. Well, the 1 rail doesn't afford much chance for success, in my opinion. Now he's got a problem with the 8 and 9, I think. And maybe even the 6, although I think the 6 passes the 8 there on the lower right-hand part of the screen. Well, he didn't do what he wanted to there, or did he?
No,
Maybe
he came up about a foot short off the rail.
What's wrong with playing the 3 in the side, maybe off the 7 and the cue ball down to the end rail, and then into the 9 ball?
Well, maybe there's nothing wrong with that, but if he'd have just followed the ball a little bit more, a routine shot, he'd have certainly liked it a lot more.
Or he could just play the 3 in the side, like so.
Cue ball coming close to the side.
Well, I don't think he can make that 8 as it lies. We're certainly going to find out soon enough. And if not, he's going to want to pull the cue ball back on his side of straight in on the 7 ball. And in that fashion, he can cut the 7 in the side and either go straight into the 2 balls or down to the end rail and then into them. Or he could do this. Well, he's got an angle here, Jerry, to cut the 7 in the side.
Down table.
Right English, and back into the ball. He's got to
Right.
be careful not to scratch off the 8 ball.
Well, this is a good line. He's going to be right under the 8.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
Pretty fortunate he didn't scratch.
If he'd have tickied the little hair part of that 8, he'd have been right in the drink.
What's that?
Now, he's got a shot here. If he elevates the cue, he can kiss the 8 off first the 9, then the 8 goes to the side rail and down on the end rail. Unless I missee the lie of those 2 balls.
Well, I think for the with the carom angle of the way the 8-9 are lined up. Well,
I think he's going to do just that. He's elevating the cue. Right? Nice, easy safety. He's such a great safety player. He's not going to miss that kind of safety very often. That was natural.
well, Tony, show me something.
Well, you don't play safe here. Tough shot, tough safety, take the shot. Oh, boy.
Boy, did he dodge a bullet there. Blind squirrel found an acorn.
Well, my comments about that kind of shot, I have nothing to say. Other than that, it is 7-5. Tony Ellin. Well, you have to give yourself every chance to win. And Tony did that. In other words, had he played safe, he'd probably be racking the balls up in preparation
Well,
to see Mizerak's break.
He knows he's not going to. We know he's not going to play safe. As you said, the rule when you have a difficult safety and a difficult shot, you always elect to take the shot because even if you miss the ball, you still have a chance to get safe.
Well, here we are again. Look at this, Jerry. 3 balls on the break. You know, I think the tournament directors sometimes should loosen up a little bit, too. I've played some matches on similar equipment and suggested in respectful fashion that perhaps they should break up at the other end of the table, but my request has never been taken seriously.
You mean rack at the other end of the table?
Sure. I don't think pool's meant to be played where 2 and 3 and 4 balls go every time on the break. At any rate, it's academic as we peruse these remaining few balls. Got a nice angle to get on the 5 ball. Got a nice angle to get on the 6 here. It's my father across the way there. Scott Smith has some information for our viewers. Tell us what.
Hi, Grady. Hi, Jerry. I think I overheard what you were talking about before about possibly in midway through a tournament, maybe breaking the balls from the other end, resetting a spot at the other end of the table. And this particular match you guys are doing is Rick Bowley said that wouldn't work in this situation for this particular table because of the cameras where they'd be breaking from. But it's definitely worthy of consideration.
Well, that makes sense. Well, don't you agree with us, Scott, that 9-ball and championship pocket billiards isn't meant to be played where a third of the game is over with after the break shot? I mean, they're making 3 balls half the time here.
Yeah, without a doubt. You know, it's there's much more play to it if there's 9 balls on the table or 8 balls. And
in all fairness, you were not the tournament director when I made those requests. So.
Well, thanks. They've been made to our staff by other people other than you, also.
Okay. Well, all the points are well taken. Thanks for the information.
Go back to work.
Timely information, I might add. 8-5. And he made a ball on the side, but certainly not 3 balls.
Still perfect shot on the 1. He's over the 5, but everything's in close enough proximity. 2 in the side pocket. I don't see any problem of him continuing his turn at the table here. Reaching for the bridge.
In a few moments, maybe I can get Rick Bowling, our expert, and dedicated cameraman, to get a shot of my dad, who came in a few moments ago. He's across the way over there. Yes. Nice shot, Tony. All right. He wants to play the 2 in the side ball and come up between the 7 and 9. No.
No, he has no suspenders. You've got to go right in front of table 3.
I don't think so. All right, Tony's made a nice shot here.
I don't think so.
Don't you love our producer's feeble attempts at late afternoon levity?
I don't think so. You just say it's.
All right. Nice shot he made there. Now the 4 to the 5, practically a foregone conclusion. And he's obtained a very nice angle. He just pulled the cue ball back a few inches and planned to play the 6 in the corner. There's my father, and he looks just like me. Look at him ogling that comely female companion.
He's father like son, is that what it is? He don't care too much about pool, but he knows what he's working on.
Well, that kind of stuff is inherent, is it not? As we wait for Tony Ellin to adopt a 9-5 game advantage. No, my dad gets out every year here in Reno and comes out and has a real good time. Well, is Tony still at the table after getting that good break on the 9 ball?
Yes.
In other words, so far this has cost Steve Mizerak like 4 games, right?
Yes. He's putting the proverbial package on him.
Yeah, as Keith would say, a 6-pack. There's some more of the audience at large. Nice shot of Tony Ellin.
2 balls on the break. And
snookered on the 1.
Snookered on the 1 this time.
Well, the 1 is a little too far off the rail to simply take a kick at it from this position, so I think he's going to have to roll out here.
Do like Rafael Martinez and put the cue over your head, jump the ball, fire it in the corner, and run out.
Well, Rafael has a jump cue that's a regular length cue, but they don't let him use it. You're only allowed to jump now with the cue that you actually play with.
Which I think is an excellent rule.
Tony has told Steve he is going, in fact, to push out. And we'll find out momentarily what the result of that rollout is.
I remember one match that you were commentating, listening to an ACCUSTATS video at home, and your suggestion was that the luck of the game was so one-sided that the incoming player, I can't remember who it was, found themselves in such unfortunate situations all the time that you thought that the best shot was to just slam the balls, just wildly slam into the balls and just hope for the momentum to change and something interesting to happen.
That must have been immediately after one of my 3 divorces.
An instant violent retaliation was was your well thought out game plan.
Well, Tony inadvertently left Steve a clear path to the 2-ball. He had to spin it a little bit, I think, as evidenced by the awkward angle on the 3-ball. I think he's going to play this in the side pocket and come around the 4. Ooh, caught it a little bit.
Caught the
thick.
point and.
Well, that certainly was a
ball.
momentum changer. I thought Steve was right in the full rhythm of things, so to speak, and he'd just finished playing an excellent safety on Tony, and then the 9-ball went in.
I'll tell you what, if this match continues to go the way it's going, I would want to interview Steve Mizerak.
Well, you know, that's a great point, Jerry. Many a knowledgeable expert from other walks of life have suggested that the loser, if Steve does in fact end up losing this match, is always a much more colorful and interesting interview. The winner always says the same thing. Well, I felt pretty good. I did this, I did that. The loser, however, I mean, you're going to get
he's got something to say, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And doesn't often have a springboard to...
Unless it's Earl. Earl, of course, would never have anything to say after a loss.
Of course not. His shoes are catching fire as he bursts out of the room. Well, I mean, Steve's looked over here to the sound booth a couple of times and given that look of disgust.
10-5. Well, I don't blame him. I don't blame him at all.
Well, you were self-purported for the longest time to be have the single worst luck of any pool player that ever played 9-ball.
Well, I don't feel that way anymore. I think I'm a lucky 9-ball player. I just think 9-ball is too easy for the modern-day professionals. Oh, I'm a lucky 9-ball player. I just finished telling myself that in front of the mirror 200 times day before yesterday. But no, I'm starting to believe it. I have had my fair share of rolls the last several matches that I've played. I have no complaint in the world. I'd like to see the prize money get a little better and maybe spectator interest up. But we have so many millions of people that really love this sport, and there's an underlying theme which almost transcends normalcy. I mean, this is such a beautiful pursuit, that of pocket billiards. And I mentioned in an earlier commentary, I mean, we have the nicest group, collectively speaking, I've ever been around, and Steve is kind of struggling with the racking of the balls.
Abandon his efforts and give it to the tournament director, Scott Smith.
Well, I don't blame him. Scott, incidentally, if we failed to mention it, one of the premier tournament directors in the world. I'm jealous of Scott, too. He still has a big, thick head of hair. I don't think he's got a crease on that, what should be a weather-beaten face like mine. How do these guys do it? Do they sleep late? Do they stay unmarried? How in the world do they look like they're 20 years younger than they are? Well, Danny Medina's clawed back a little bit in that match. He was behind like 7-0, and he ran 4 racks, and the score presently stands 9-6 against Rodolfo Luat. And we have some upcoming and undoubtedly interesting ACCUSTATS performance figures.
Made a ball on the break. Shot on the 1. Nice angle.
You want to fill our viewers in on the TPA? That's total performance average, Jerry?
Tony Ellin right now is shooting a 935, his total performance average. He's pocketed 87 balls on the break. I mean, excuse me.
But you may not be far off.
Yeah. He's pocketed half of his 87 on the break. He's pocketed 87 balls in his course of play, and Steve Mizerak has only pocketed 44. I guess the great dispersion in performance would be in position errors. Steve has made 3 position errors. Tony's made 2.
Uncharacteristically, I might add.
Balls missed. Steve's missed 2. Tony has missed 2. Actually, they're very close in as far as the errors made. The major difference is the balls pocketed. Tony has pocketed many more balls. So if you look at the sheer numbers of balls that have been pocketed, Mizerak is making the same amount of errors twice as often as Tony is. I don't have a stat here of how many times Tony has run out from the break, but I know that it is substantial.
Well, that's an interesting statistic. I mention in my clinics sometimes that if you can run out 40% of the time, which is what players do occasionally from the break, that wins tournaments. And if you can run out about a third of the time from the break, you can certainly get in there and play with the best players in the world. And if you don't, you need a second job.
Well, the score right now is 11 games, Tony Ellin, 5 games, Steve Mizerak. We're just informed from Pat that Tony has got out from the break 5 times out of the 11.
That's why he's ranked number 3 in the world right now. That's hard to beat. It really is.
Boy, you can just hear that ball on the break just swishing in there. And again,
whoomp. Lou Butera and I bet on Mike Euphemia once, and Mike could run 300 or 400 balls, and we won the bet, and we never placed another bet on him. You know why? Because every ball just absolutely dribbles in the pocket. And we talked about it. We don't want to hear that. We want to hear a ball go whoof when it hits the back of that pocket. All right, Tony's got a nice position on the 2 ball. Wants to use a little right English here. Come out 2 rather natural rails. Now here you can go 1 or 2 since he has to stretch. I think he's going to go the 1 rail route. And he got a little farther up the table than he meant to, so he's just going to roll this in with a high ball, perhaps a touch of left or right English, excuse me. Oh, he missed that ball.
He missed that ball. Steve, sheesh.
Well, I'm glad I'm not the only one misses that shot. That's not an easy shot when you're frozen over there on the rail.
Well, Steve's happy to be at the table.
Yeah, well, meanwhile, this is a little touchy here. He's going to have to use a touch of inside English and go 2 rails inside the 9. Maybe he can draw this. No, see, he used outside English.
You wanted to use a little inside English to shorten that up and avoid the risk of hitting the 9 ball.
Now this is tough. Well, he didn't make it look tough. And he's undoubtedly happy to be back at the table after Tony Ellin had a very nice lie of balls. And
Steve has certainly loosened up. He looks to me like he's getting that give-up stroke, which you may never miss a ball now.
All right, 11 games to 6. And the possibilities are limitless.
Steve, he just, in
case everybody didn't see it, he took the liberty of adding 6 games to his score.
He reaches up to the wire and put himself on the hill.
Now see what happened there, Jerry. He went forward. He had high English on it, which he absolutely did not want. Well, he's going to have to roll out here. I think he's snookered behind the 4 ball. Now, if I were Tony, I would give this shot up. No way would I take this. Long range.
It's like he can hear you talking in his ear.
Well, he wants to shoot.
He wants to shoot.
He's an aggressive player. Well, now if you're Steve, you could play safe. You could play the 1-ball bank off the 2-ball, but the safe, I think, is probably the best shot.
He hit it good.
Yes, he did. Nice shot. I think when Tony told him to shoot that, he thought that Steve would shoot. And actually, he's left this in a very awkward position. The combination isn't really any good. He can't cut it for the lower right-hand pocket with any measure of comfort, so I think probably we'll see him play safe. Maybe try to put the cue ball down behind the 2-9. Well, it came out a little bit. Now, Tony's got a nice shot. I might consider cutting this to the left. I don't think he'll do that. I think he'll cut it to the right.
He's playing safe. Trying to get behind the 6-ball, but the 5 is going to work.
Well, I don't think he had a natural angle to get behind the 6. Now, this is a tough kick. He has to hit just past the 7 and firmly to make that ball kind of shorten up, bite a little bit. Elevating the cue helps a little bit, too. Well, it could be worse, except that I don't think he's going to like his next shot very much. Well, I think he can, if he can't outright see the 1, he can twist it and certainly be able to hit it.
A little firm hand there on Tony's part, and opened that 2-9 up and
No, but he
gave
played
him a hole.
He played it correctly. He's supposed to try to snug that cue ball up to the 6-9.
Well, Steve played another good shot.
Yes, he did. Tony can see this ball, I think, though. What he can do with it is another story, perhaps.
I tell you, as far as safety play and playing 9-ball, that shot right there, the shot that they've been batting back and forth, where you have to hit the ball and take the angle that you come off of that ball and try to snug up behind something else, and gauging the speed of the object ball coming down table has got to be one of the most important shots.
Oh, no question about it. Oh, nice shot, Steve.
And
but
no
he's
reward.
not going to be rewarded. Well, now look at this side of balls. The 5-ball is a bit of a problem. Obviously, he can just pull the cue ball out and play the 3 in the side and roll up for the 4. But I wouldn't play for the combination.
I think he's going to want to try to get straight in on the 4 so he can draw the ball back past the side pocket and play the 5 in the right-hand corner.
Yeah, that probably would be correct. Maybe a little bit even
towards
off
the
a straight in.
Yeah,
towards the middle of the table.
Right. I think the only bad thing he can do is to roll this 3-ball too far and end up on the left side of the 4. He liked to go to the rail.
Well, sure, that's the best way to play it, because in that fashion you can hit it with a little more speed. Thus, it's easier to control, in my opinion. Now, this is perfect angle. I think he can draw it past the side and over on the left side of the 5-ball.
Yeah, right up by that piece of chalk on the left rail.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. Much better than playing the combination. Now you use low left-hand English and just pull the cue ball over to the side rail and back out above the 6. Exactly like that. Out 2 rather easy and natural rails. And he'll draw this back out a couple of feet, like so. And just like that, it's going to be 12 games to 6. Tony Ellin on the hill, as it's said. Well, I don't know. It almost seems like it took the spirit out of Steve Mizerak when that 9-ball inadvertently found its way into the pocket.
Well, that was just the beginning, I guess. The really the action on the break is what is just so difficult to overcome.
Well, Johnny Archer and Tony Ellin, right now, probably have the two best breaks on the tour, and that's one reason they're so hard to defeat, because when they come to the table, they're putting 2 and 3 and 4 racks together, sometimes more than that. And it's hard to defeat a player when you're not getting that many turns at the table.
That corner ball is firing in so fast you can't even see it going in the hole. You just hear that swish.
Yeah. Well, I knew that was missable. Now here again, Steve's got to play the billiard, but it's very difficult to control the 1. Because just hope you get a shot on the 1 here.
No, he cut the ball under the 8, cut the 1 under the 8, and was able to control the ball much
I didn't
better.
see you could do that. That's a nice shot. Okay, to 3-4-5 up by the far right-hand corner. And he could still win this match, especially given the way the equipment is breaking. Well, he didn't mean to be quite that close to the rail, but he's still okay. He'll go 2 rails. Now he'll want to stay short of the side pocket, below the side pocket. And now he may have to draw this back. Not the easiest shot in the world.
He makes it look easy though, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. Now he needs to smooth stroke this 9 in the pocket. 7 games to 12. Favor of Tony Ellin. Sometimes you can go to the, almost like a goal line stand at football. You can go to the bathroom, have a talk with yourself, and you can say, okay, Steve, here's your chance to make history, right? Doesn't always work, but every great once in a while it does. Now his best chance to win this match is to run the set out.
Well, that's very astute of you to point out. Now, what do you feel like the likelihood of that is?
Well, not as high as you might think.
Not as high or as low as I might think.
Well, it's even money propositions. It would be 63 to 1 against him if you make it even money to run out from the break, which Tony has done throughout this match. Steve, however, has not been. So we'll see in a moment. It's a nice safety.
Well, when you talk about when the balls know who's winning, when it seems like every time your opponent gets up and he breaks, makes a ball, and has got a shot, and every time you break and make a ball, you don't have a shot, all you can do is blame the ball. Steve's looking here to the booth for a little...
Well, that always happens when you're behind. Now, my description earlier, I don't know how to explain it, but the balls do know who's winning, and they react accordingly. Of course, the properly shaped melon, of course, that's a good thing. And as mentioned, some telecasts ago, that's my problem in life. My head is shaped for pinball machines, 1 pocket, and divorce. Hence, not aptly suited for 9-ball at all. Well, what a nice...
he's going to hate this.
Oh, look at this.
He's going to hate this.
Look at this. There's no reward to that at all.
Well, he just wants to sit down and...
Well, all you can do is smile. Let's give the big fella his just due. Maybe he can kick the 1-ball in. Who knows? But even if he does, he's not going to have a shot on the 2-ball, right? About all you can do there is smile. I nod in complete sympathy and understanding, Steve. I understand. Well, he can spin at this, take a shot at it if he wants to. Make sure if he misses it, do it a little bit on the thick side.
He hit it perfect.
Well, that was pretty much a free shot there.
Steve gives him the applaud of good shot.
Sure, why not? It was a good shot. And now, barring the inexplicable, this match is going to be another part of pocket billiard lore. Now he can just go down to the end rail here and just kind of bounce up in the middle of the table.
Now, is this a winner's bracket or a loser's bracket match?
I don't know. I don't know.
Pat, are you listening? This is a loser's bracket match. The answer from the control room.
Boy, that's a great match over there. Luat and Medina, 11-8. Luat at the moment, and Danny Medina has just pocketed the 9 ball on the break. Are we going to do an interview?
Yes, let's do an interview of Steve.
Well, you can't take anything away from Tony Ellin. He played very well. Maybe we can get Tony Ellin's final ACCUSTAT figure.
Is out of days. Could we have a hand for Steve Mizerak, please? Take a round of applause. And then some after. Hall of Famer, thanks, man.
I don't know if Steve will be in the mood for an interview or not.
Oh, well, he might want to air his frustrations.
And while we're waiting a moment, look at this. Ellin ends up with 935, Terry. 1,000, of course, being perfect pool. 870 for Mizerak. Tony, boy, you are exploding the balls on the break shot.
Yeah, thanks, Grady. Yeah, this was one of the tables in here that the balls go real good, and the break was a big advantage for me here.
Well, we thought, if I'm not mistaken, Pat, didn't he break and run out 6 times from the break? Well, it was 5 earlier, a couple games before the match was over. So either 5 or 6 times, roughly half the match. You ran out from the break. And I got to tell you, I can't remember since Luther Lassiter somebody doing that. And, boy, that doesn't bode well for these other guys in these major events. And probably rather nicely explains why you're ranked 3rd in the world.
Thanks, Grady. Well, last time I played here in Reno, I had my best tournament. I run the semis and the finals. I run 20 out of 28 possible racks.
Have you been betting
on
the
this
sports
table
here?
Nah, kind of taking a little break.
If a guy needed the pointer, though, he could always come to you, right?
Well, absolutely. Yeah, I kind of guide him through there.
Well, you're the defending champion here, and we really enjoyed watching this match and doing the commentary, and it looks like trouble for your upcoming opponents.
Thanks, Grady.
Now, Tony, who put you in the loser's bracket?
Larry Hubbard beat me 13-11. Yeah, I went down with a 9 hanging in the hole. I broke and made 2 balls, and the 9 went in the hole. I couldn't see the 1, or I couldn't shoot a ball onto the 9, so I pushed out for a jump shot and hit it pretty good, but come up a little short.
Well, we wish you the best of luck. You're certainly capable of doing a lot of damage from the loser's bracket and winning the tournament.
Thank you very much.
Well, I want to give you my personal congratulations, not only for that fine match you just played and your current standing in the billiards community, but also for like a terrific year.
Thanks.
You kind of struggled there for 3 or 4 years, and for a while it kind of seemed like maybe you'd never get the job done, and then all of a sudden everything seemed to click.
Yeah, I think there's a fine line you got to kind of... It's real tough.
Well, sure it's tough. This is the toughest field I think I ever saw in my life. I mean, there's, wouldn't you mention, say there's 30 guys here at least that win the tournament?
Yeah, that may be an understatement. There may be 35 or 40, but you know, it's tough action out here. You just got to keep your head down and keep fighting.
Well, you've done that. We just witnessed it. And thanks for a sterling performance. We look forward to watching upcoming matches.
Thanks a lot.
Sure. Thank you for the interview. Well, Jerry, let's tell the fans how to order these great ACCUSTATS products. They have only to call 1-800-8 with these thoughts firmly entrenched, let's all this